Oslo was struck by a very powerful car bomb that went off just next to the Prime Minister's office. 8 people were killed immediately and hundreds were injured. Panic struck Norwegians trying to figure out why they have been attacked, why they have been added to the long list of cities that have been attacked by Islamic jihadists. They discovered and they found that Norway has been contributing troops to the NATO war effect. They found that the Muslim community of Norway had not been integrated to the society. They also found just a week before a Muslim preacher has been indicted for his incitement, and while the country was still trying to make sense of this war, there was another attack, a simultaneous attack that happened a couple hours later in a school summer camp, where more than 69 people were shot dead, including personal friends of the prime ministers and some members of the royal family. And of course, names starting popping up. This was had to be a jihadist attack. Responsibilities, some Al Qaeda. The name starting popping up, but ironically, it was none of that. This entire terror attack was the handiwork of one man, whose name was Anders Breivik, and he was a Norwegian, and he hated Muslim, and he was actually protesting against the multiculturalist policies of the Norwegian government. My second story is about this man. He goes by the name of Salim Durrani. He has many names. He operated in the valley for about 10 years. He used to move in and out. The fences and the boundaries were never a problem for him. He has a prize on his head when he was operated in the valley, and he is been known to be personally responsible for the deaths of close to 2 to 3, 4 dozen young men. He is also a devout Muslim, prays 5 times a day. He has his AK-47 next to him like a true warrior. Each time he prays, wherever he sleeps, never sleeps in the same place twice, not for two nights in a row. Salim Dunani is Michael Smith from the Indian Army. This is a picture of him when he was major, serving in the valley. Between him, his father, and his grandfather. 3 generations, they have contributed 8 gallant uniform services officers into the Indian Armed Forces. And between them, they hold 6 gallantry awards and 2 commendation credits. The young lad that you see sitting on the left is Salim's son, who is now planning to join the Indian Military Academy and continue the family tradition for the fourth generation of service to this country. Now, when I told you these two stories, your mind instantly left to a conclusion. That was wrong. You thought of Salim Durrani when I began as a terrorist, AK-47, Valley, and your mind jumps to a conclusion which was wrong. We do that very often. We take information that is coming to our brains and we stereotype it. And why do we do that? Do we do it because we are broken people? We are petty people? Turns out we are just people. And our brains is still evolving over millions of years. And it's incapable of dealing with all these inputs that come to our brain, hundreds of inputs that come to our brains every second. So our mind filters them out into some sort of patterns and absorbs those patterns and jumps to judgment. Let me give that to a few examples. For instance, until I say these sentences to you, you are unaware of the feeling your your touch of your thighs on your seat, or the touch of your arm on your wrist, or the faint hum of the air conditioner in this auditorium. But the moment I say these sentences, those pieces of information which were out there in your brain jumped into your mind and you could actually sense it. But until then, those sensations were coming and they were being filtered out. And that's the way our mind works at a time. It just takes 2 to 3 pieces of data and quickly jumps to a conclusion. Let's show that to you with another example. Try and solve this math puzzle. Suppose there is a racket and a ball which together cost 110 rupees. Racket and ball together cost 110 rupees. The racket cost 100 rupees more than the ball. The racket cost 100 rupees more than the ball. What will be price of the ball? Now all of us who got it as 10 just witness the way in which our brain takes information and jumps to the wrong conclusion. The answer is 5. The price of the ball is 5. The price of the racket is 105. That is 5. The racket is 100 rupees more than the ball. But you heard 110, 100 and you jump to a wrong conclusion that the price of the ball will be 10. Now the second feature of our way of stereotypical thinking is that we usually think of the worst case scenarios. That is why Salim Durrani is a terrorist, not amongst the thousands of Muslim officers and soldiers who served in the Indian Armed Forces. And why do we do that? Why do we always gravitate toward the worst case scenario? Now, the answer for that is also a human evolution of the brain. Now, suppose we went back to history as we were evolving. There were these two tribes, tribe 1 and tribe 2. Tribe 1 consisted of brave, fearless warriors. And they would see a mammoth, they say, I want to take on this mammoth by myself. They come to a chasm, they say, I run and flap my wings and get across. They would see a bright fruit and say, I bite into it and forget about the consequences. And try to say, when they saw a mammoth, well, I can take on this mammoth. My son need to go and get some more people. When they see this bright fruit, they say, you know what, I will stick to my boring banana. Whose descendant do you think we are? Of course, tribe 2, because tribe 1 didn't have descendants, they died. So, two elements which jumps to judgment, though judgments are usually worst case scenarios. And the third problem is with this wrong judgment, worst case scenarios, we also change physiologically. Our mind changes, the way we behave biologically changes. Let me show that with another example. How many of you seen the movie Black? It was a sad movie. How many of you cried during the movie? Why did you cry? Amitabh Bachchan is making tons of money. Irani Mukherjee is not blind. This was all happening in a screen. None of it is true. But we still crying because our reptilian brain didn't realize the difference between the fact and fiction and starting physiologically feeling sad. Physiologically taking decision in the emotional state of mind. Now, for those of you who didn't see the movie Black or were too much not to cry during the movie, I want you to visualize one more example. I want you to visualize that I'm asking you to open your mouth. Don't open your mouth, just to visualize. That I'm asking you to open your mouth and stick out your tongue. Now I want you to, now your tongue is stuck out, your mouth is open, there is a lemon in my hand, and I'm squeezing that lemon on the tip of your tongue, and the juice is going down. Why are you salivating? There is no lemon in my hand. There is nothing in my hand. But again, your reptilian mind doesn't know that. When you hear these words, lemon, lime, going, you can't stop salivating. Because physiologically our body changes. The way we perform, we behave. We take decisions based on wrong information. Now, salivating on a wrong imaginary lemon may be harmless, but stereotypes can be very, very, very dangerous. People get lynched by mobs because they believe that they have eaten the wrong type of meat. Communal riots break out based on wrong, false WhatsApp messages, photoshopped images. Countries go to war because they believe that another company has got weapons of mass destruction. Countries leave alliances that they have been part for decades because they believe that immigrants are coming and stealing their jobs, which is incorrect job in information. We start looking at every stranger with suspicion, and we think that everything which is different from us has to be dangerous. We start believing that anyone who is not with us is by definition against us. Another founding principle of our country is the core value of tolerance. And tolerance, like wisdom, is the ability to hold two contrarian idea into the same mind and evaluate each one of them merit before coming to a conclusive judgment. Before this talk, I was researching on the working of the brain on stereotyping and I found many books. But I was hard pressed to find a book that would tell me how do we deal with this problem. What is the framework that will help us recognize this threat of prokirism and divisiveness? Because if we start believing that anyone who is not with us is against us, then we start creating a society in a world where everything is connected to each other, which is extremely divisive. And finally, I found a book from which I want to read out a passage for you. The fundamental duties of the citizens of India. Article 51A. It shall be the duty of every citizen to promote harmony and spirit of brotherhood amongst all people of India, transcending religion, linguistic, regional, and sectional diversity. Now, this book, as many of you have guessed, is the Constitution of India. It is that book which is holier than every holy book. Is that book on every soldier, every politician, every bureaucrat, every citizen of India swears his elegance. We have been taught to stand up and in attention whenever the national flag is unfurled. We teach that to our kids. We have been taught to stand up and paying attention whenever the national anthem is played, and we teach that to our kids. I think also time for us to sit down and start studying the fundamentals that are represented by that flag and by national anthem. Because as the saying goes, whenever you are struggling for a new idea, sometimes it's a good idea to read an old book. Thank you. Jai Hind.